All right, today we're going to deconstruct one of the most famous and, let's be honest, infamous streets on the entire planet, Bangkok's very own Khao San Road. And I think the best way to start is with this quote from Alex Garland's novel, The Beach. He called it a decompression chamber. And honestly, that phrase is the absolute key to understanding why this place even exists. It's a halfway house between worlds. Because, you see, to really get what Khao San Road is all about, you've got to understand the powerful myth it represents for millions of travelers. This isn't just a physical street, it's an idea, a legend. It's basically the unofficial capital of what's known as the Banana Pancake Trail. Now, this isn't a real path you can find on a map. It's more of a metaphor, right? It's this ever-changing network of guest houses and hotspots that backpackers follow. And it's all defined by a shared culture and, yep, a shared love for comfort food, like banana pancakes. For so many years, this little 410-meter road became the essential first stop. It was the place you'd land, get your bearings, meet other people doing the exact same thing, and just acclimatize to the incredible sensory overload of Asia before you dared to venture any deeper. But how in the world did a simple market street turn into this global phenomenon? Well, the story's pretty wild. It's basically a fascinating accident of history. The first clue is right there in its name. Khao San. It literally translates to milled rice. And that points to a totally different past. One that had everything to do with local commerce and absolutely nothing to do with international tourism. This was once a vital hub for Bangkok's rice trade. What's so striking is just how recent and completely unplanned this whole transformation was. So back in 1982, a huge citywide celebration filled up all the hotels. Locals on Khao San just started renting out cheap rooms in their homes, and bam, a new identity was born. And then, in 2000, the movie The Beach famously featured the street, and its fate as a global icon was sealed. But here's the thing about that kind of explosive organic growth: it always comes at a price. For decades, the street just grew and grew without any real plan, creating this chaotic and often pretty dysfunctional environment. And for years, both residents and visitors had to deal with the messy consequences. I mean, vendors took over every single inch of the sidewalk. Garbage was overflowing, which, brings rats and cockroaches. And the basic infrastructure, things like drainage, was just crumbling under the pressure. This all led to this fascinating split personality for the street. By day, it was a pretty practical place for travelers to get their logistics sorted. But at night, it morphed into this completely different beast, a neon-drenched outdoor party machine fueled by high-energy music and even higher-margin drinks. And that chaos, the very wild and rowdy vibe that made Khao San famous, was also making it totally unlivable. So city officials had to ask a really critical question: could this actually continue unchecked? In response, the city decided to place a huge bet. They were going to step in and fundamentally change the future of Khao San Road. So they invested 48.8 million baht, that's over 1.3 million US dollars, in a massive facelift project that was designed, well, to tame the chaos. And the goal was crystal clear: solve decades of problems by bringing in some serious order. This wasn't just a simple cleanup either. We're talking repaving the entire street, putting in a modern drainage system, creating designated uniform stalls for every vendor, and turning it into a real-deal international walking street. And here's what's so important to understand. This went way beyond just new pavement. It was a fundamental shift in how the street was managed. They even brought in a vendor rotation system, where licenses get renewed every couple of years, to stop any single group from controlling the space. All of this brings us to the central tension, the big paradox of Khao San Road. Has this cleanup, this new layer of control, actually killed the soul of the place? You can literally see this paradox in the food. On Khao San, tourists happily pay more money for flavors that are often way milder and less authentic than what you'd find just a few streets over. Why? Well, they're not just paying for the pad thai, they're paying for the convenience and the vibrant, controlled atmosphere. And that's really where we are today. On the one hand, yeah, the street is undeniably cleaner, it's safer, it's more accessible for everyone. It fits right into Bangkok's bigger vision of being a more walkable city. But on the other hand, a lot of people feel it's lost that spontaneity, that raw, chaotic energy that made it so legendary to begin with. So we're left with this huge, provocative question that really defines the future of not just this one street, but countless tourist hotspots all over the world. As we try to make these incredible places safer and more sustainable, how do we protect them without, sanitizing the very soul that made them so magical in the first place?